All right, so I want to talk about something very important. Those of you who clicked on this video, obviously you're interested in art. Many of you do art. Some of you are just people who are interested in seeing other artists do art or watching videos about art for whatever reason. But the vast majority of people who click on this video, I'm assuming, are people who want to do art themselves. Here is the deal. You are an artist. Whether you're talented or not doesn't matter. I hear this word and I've heard this word talent for so long, and a lot of people associate me with having God-given talent or a gift. I think that I think we all have gifts, number one. And we all have God-given talent. We all are naturally talented at something. Okay. And so when it comes to art, I've heard people say, "Oh, you're so talented. You have a God-given talent. You have a natural gift." And the reason I've pushed back from that over the past, I would say 10 years is because it took me time to get good at what I do. This didn't just happen by accident. And I know a lot of people like to believe that I was just born and able to do these drawings and these paintings and all this other stuff, but that's not how it happened. I was about 27 years old and I wasn't that good at it. I was cool, but I wasn't as good as I am now. Nowhere near, right? And the reason why I got better is because I met a mentor and he taught me basic fundamentals that actually helped me get better at art over time. Where people make the mistake is that they think that certain people are just naturally born artists, naturally talented, and this, that, and the other. This is what I like to say. I like to say that those people have a natural interest. I have a God-given interest. I have naturally interested instead of God-given talent or naturally gifted and all this other stuff. I have an interest in art that is bigger than some other people's interest who may be into medicine or who may be into car repair or who may be into hairstyling or things like that. Those people have interest in those sections. My interest is in art. But just because you have an interest in something doesn't mean that you're going to follow that interest and develop that which you're interested in. Because there's a lot of people. Why is it that most people in our society don't say that they don't know what their passion is? They don't know what their dream is. And this is documented by statistics. And I've documented myself by asking people. Throughout my life, I've just asked people randomly. I'll just ask people like, what's your passion, or what are you interested in, or what's your God-given talent, or whatever the case, right? I don't usually say God-given talent, but I do ask people. I started doing this about 20 years ago, maybe over 20 years ago, because I realized that my passion was art, and I was wondering why so many people that I knew, my friends and family, they didn't know what they liked. And I'm like, how do we live on this planet? I talk to my children, 11 and 12, and then I also have a 30-year-old. But I talk to my 11 and 12-year-old, I talk to my 12 and 13-year-old, and I talk to them about, what do you want to do, right? And both of them seem to be into art. I'm not sure if both of them will stick with art, but both of them seem to be pretty heavy in art right now. But I do understand how art is kind of like a gateway. It can be a gateway to other things. They may go into medicine and they may do better in medicine because they were in art before. I've actually seen that where art actually amplifies what a person is into in other subjects. So I talk to them and about this idea of knowing what you want to do. And what I tell them is that if you've been on the planet for 13 years. 13 years, that's a decade and 3 extra years. That's a lot of years. Let's discount the first 2 years because you're so young. You're not even bogged down with that. Let's discount 5 years. Even if we're looking at 6 or 7 years, and you don't know what you want to do, there's a couple reasons for that. When I was working at Oakland School for the Arts, there was this assembly. There was this presentation, and there were these beautiful Asian girls, and they were playing. Some sort of Asian instrument. I don't remember the name of the instrument. I have to look it up, but it was so long ago. And please forgive me. I'm not trying to make any quick of their culture, because I thought it was awesome. But they were playing this instrument. It was like a guitar. It had like guitar strings, but it was laying on the ground. And then they had a certain way that they carried it, and then they plucked the strings. And these were young kids. I'm talking like they were like maybe 4 feet high. Like they were really young kids. And they were actually in Oakland School for the Arts. That was a high school. These kids were like in elementary school, but they had more maturity and professionalism in the way they carried themselves in that presentation than most of the kids that we taught at that school. And so I stepped to the parent after the presentation, because the presentation was incredible. And I said, how do you get them to, and I'm stumbling over my words, and she just kind of finished off like, be so professional? I'm like, yeah, like, they're just so mature. Like, how do you get them like that? She said, well, see, what we do is we expose our children in our culture, we expose our children at a very young age to a lot of different things. And then whatever they gravitate to the most, we push them in that direction. And this is between 1 and 3 years old, I believe she said. And I was blown away. I said, oh, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, because in America, we don't do that. You got kids like going to college and don't know what they want to do. And I'm not dissing anybody, because I knew that I was good at art and still didn't know that I wanted to follow this path until my mid-20s or late 20s. You know what I mean? Because I grew up, I was just trying to survive. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. I grew up around gangbangers and all this. I had dancer friends, but I also had gangbanger friends. And so I had a lot on my head besides trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I just was trying to literally make it through each day. But anyway, so she said, yeah, we pushed them in that direction. And so I found that really interesting. And how I'm tying that into this topic is that a lot of us don't know what our passion is. Your passion may be art, but a lot of times we think because we're not that good at it, maybe this is just this thing that I do sometimes. Maybe this is this thing that I do outside of work. And maybe you have thought of, going an art route, either doing commercial art, being a commercial artist, meaning working for other people, doing assignments for other people. Somebody say, I want a logo or whatever, or being a fine artist or an artist where you communicate your own vision. There are people who I've met, a lot of people who think about it. They play around with the idea, but never do it. Why? Because they say, well, Daoud, you're talented. I'm not naturally talented, so I don't know if this is for me. I just want to say to you all that my art didn't get good just because I was born. I had to work at this years and years. I had to work at it. And I teach people and they get results really fast. I've been teaching for over 25 years, and most of the people, I'd say 98.9% of the people that I teach in one session get extreme results that they didn't even know was possible for them. This is the truth. The reason it took me so long to learn it is because I was going back and forth trying to learn how to get better doing it in different ways. With a lot of these courses that I was taking in community colleges. I was doing YouTube videos. I was looking at books like the Andrew Loomis books and trying to, pull all these tutorials and things together to create a good art skill. And it just didn't work. I'm going to wrap this up. You are an artist. Everybody on this planet is an artist. What distinguishes you from the person who identifies as an artist is literally just interest. That person may be more interested in it. But if you're the type of person, I just want to do it sometimes, I just want to have fun with it, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to be a paid artist. That's my thought for today. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about this talk. And go have some fun doing art.